Democratic
Agree.
Party in West Virginia? Is it those candidates who ran for Congress who are far left who just got annihilated? Is it Stephen Smith who made a decent run in the primary and you know that far left? Is it the Joe Manchin? I can work with both sides, but we need people to win races. What is it? Define it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I thought in my befuddled brain last night, I wasn't thinking well by the time I got done with the coverage, but I was certainly cogitating upon that. What does the Democratic Party do in West Virginia? I will upset some of my progressive friends, including my daughter-in-law who ran on that ticket and lost. We are not a progressive state. And I think that was an error. We were successful, Democrats were successful in West Virginia when we were very moderate Democrats leaning towards the Joe Manchin type Democrat. Now, a lot of my Democratic colleagues don't like to hear that. But that's just who we are in West Virginia. And I think we've got to first begin to accept that. That's just my opinion about where the Democratic Party's got to go. But I would certainly concur with you, Hoppy, no matter where it goes, it's got to stop and think long and hard. We're watching, we being Democrats, watching erosion of the party, both in registration and in holding of offices. How do we turn it around? I mean, we just can't keep on trying the same old things again. I don't know what the full answer is. But again, I think it begins with acknowledging that West Virginia is not an overly progressive state. Doesn't mean we can't talk about alternative energies. Doesn't mean we can't talk about, green policies. It doesn't mean we can't talk about anti-discrimination policies and so on and so forth. But we are still a moderate Democrat leaning right-wing state. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. I think the problem, though, Howard, is, and there are myriad problems for the Democratic Party right now. The problem is that group that you're talking about, which formed the core of the Democratic Party for years, now belongs to the Republican Party. Okay, think of the Trump followers. I mean, white, working class people. Those are now Trump people, and they may even be Democrats or registered Democrats, but they're rapidly becoming Republicans or independents. So can you reclaim a ground that you once had that now I think belongs to Republicans because of Trump? And second of all, I think the most passionate part of the Democratic Party is the progressive wing. But do you have enough people there? And can you build that? I mean, that's what Stephen Smith and that West Virginia can't wait. That's what he was trying to do in the primary, and I think had some success. So do you try to build there? I don't know. Or do you just say, rather than create a philosophy, let's go out and let's find the best candidates, let's raise money, and let's run better campaigns? Because the Republican Party has defined Democratic candidates as pro-abortion socialists, pro-abortion, anti-gun socialists. That's how you've been defined.
Yep,
now, you're not all that, but that's how you've been defined.
Nope, you're absolutely right. And I think you really, I think we have, again, I keep saying we as Democrats have got to look for the direction they want to take. But I think just as critical is who are the people that we think are going to be able to take us there?
Yeah.
Elections are always, referendums on individuals or votes on people. And you can't just say, well, he's a progressive, so I want to vote for him. You've got to say he's an interesting, nice guy, or he's passionate or whatever. And I must say, I followed the Republican Party in the state for well over a decade as they began to turn things around. And it was calculated. And some of the top names I see now in the Democratic Party are names that I began to see creeping up in smaller offices 10 years ago. They began to recruit and began to put people on the ballot and began to build a bench. And Democrats have not done that, sadly to say, in West Virginia.
Well, Howard, look at this. The race for state treasurer, I think that is a perfect indication of where the Democratic Party is now. John Perdue. In another generation, John Perdue would have won a seventh term as treasurer in another generation. But here's John Perdue, an old school Democrat, solid citizen guy, and he loses to Riley Moore, a Republican who had lost re-election for House of Delegates in 2018. That tells you that those Democrats are done. Okay, that era of Democrats is done. Joe Manchin, who is the patriarch now of the Democratic Party in West Virginia, he's going to have real trouble in 2024. He says he's not going to run. Maybe he won't. So where's the next wave? Who are these people? I think of a guy like in your neck of the woods, like a Bill Ehlenfeld,
Yep.
who's a very smart guy. He's left center. He's pro energy. But also left center. So where are those guys? Are there more of those people? I say guys in a generic sense, but where are those people?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I was thinking about that in the Northern Panhandle, and particularly in Ohio County right now. Two Democrats come to mind, and one is Bill Ehlenfeld, and one is Sean Fluharty. Now, Sean is more of a bomb thrower. Bill is more of a consensus builder. Sean is more of a bomb thrower. But both have created, I don't want to phrase this, you know who they are. They're not just a Democrat. You know who, and I don't mean just here, but they're building name recognition across the state as individuals. People know Sean Fluharty. People know Bill Ehlenfeld. And that's what I'm talking about. It's not just policy, but it's people that makes a difference. But I think Democrats have got to take a longer look at this. Again, I remember when my friend Rob Capehart was chair of the Republican Party. And so I talked a lot to him about, what he was thinking about. That's been, 10 years ago, 12 years ago? I lose track of time. But there was a long-range plan there. There was long-range thinking in terms of putting people in place and moving them forward. It wasn't, how do we win the governor's race in 4 years? It was, how do we take control of all of this in 10 years? And
right.
That's the mindset that I think the Democratic Party has got to get through their heads here moving forward.
Well, and that's well said. And the Republican Party, over this 10 or 20 years, went out and they looked at every race and they said, can we find somebody to beat this person? And can we run a real campaign? And can we catch the Democratic incumbents sleeping on this thing? And you know what? Election by election, they picked them off to the point where you get last night.
You mentioned Purdue, and I think it's the issues you talked about, and the fact that just is an old line Democrat that would have won once upon a time, can't do it now. I also think, however, that the people in general are getting tired of long-term incumbents.
Yes,
we saw that happen here in Ohio County, where County Commissioner Tim McCormick, I think 26 years in office, my numbers may be wrong on that, but many years as a county commissioner, helped develop the Highlands, really put on a very good and aggressive campaign up here. And he loses out to Zach Abraham. Now, Zach's a good guy. I know him personally. I like Zach. Football star, school board member for a while. So he's a good guy. So it was a good race. But I think not only maybe is there a movement towards the right, if you will, but there also is a movement to, let's get rid of these guys who have been there for too long.
Yeah.
Even if we like them, Purdue just has been around for so long. Maybe it's just time for a change.
Yeah. I think that's a factor as well. Is that the Zach Abraham that played football at WVU?
It is indeed, yes.
Yeah. Caught a big touchdown pass against Pitt, I believe.
Indeed, he did. Wheeling Park High School standout, and then, of course, a WVU star. Good guy. Again, I know him quite well personally. And I'm perfectly, I'm okay with him. He's the kind of Republican that I think you can work with.
Hey, Howard, let me ask you this: as a longtime media person, as a lifelong Democrat, unapologetic loyalist to the party, which I respect, I am pro media because, as I often say, I are part of the media. But does the national media need to do some? If Trump pulls this thing out, does the national media need to do some soul searching as well about what it is and how it covers races? Because if it turns out that Trump wins, a lot of national media, and again, I'm not media bashing, I'm trying to make an observation, will have missed it again. And do they need to get out of their bubble and spend more time in Iowa and Ohio and West Virginia and parts of Pennsylvania and the Midwest and talk to people and cover that and try to understand more about Trump's popularity instead of assuming that if you support Trump, you're an idiot. And I can't understand how you support Trump. I think that we're going to have to do some soul searching as well.
I think you're right. And it needs to be more than, I mean, all the major media, Washington Post, New York Times, or CNN, they all send a correspondent out to talk to the people in middle America. It's got to be something more than that, than the hit or miss. Let's send reporter Jones out to travel to Detroit and see what he finds. You got to put people out there who really become a part of the fabric of the community, and have a better feel for what's going on outside of the media bubble. And I'm like you. I'm not in the media bubble of DC or something, but I'm the media, and I think sometimes we do become too isolated. And I also think, Hoppy, which I think you would concur with me on, in general, national media and even local media to a large extent, to some extent, we are still too partisan, tribal,
Yeah.
And certainly it's a cliche now, but everybody goes to their news network. You're a Trump supporter, you're a Fox guy. If you were a Biden supporter, you watched MSNBC, I guess, or CNN, or what have you. If you want to hear anti-Trump stuff on the radio, you'll probably catch my show. And if you want to see a little more, I'm going to give you balance, Hoppy, a little more balanced perspective. Listen to statewide talk line, but I sense a distinct lean to the right, simply because that's where your head is at. So I think that's something that we all have to be aware of as well.
Here's what I think you can do. I think that the media responsibility is still to report accurately and to fact check. I don't think, if somebody says there's life on Mars, I don't think you said, Monroe said there's life on Mars, Kirchhoff said there isn't. I mean, I still think you can fact check, number one. Number two, you need to find people like the late Anthony Bourdain and send them out, whether it's into a liberal encampment or a conservative encampment, and meet people on their turf and talk to them. Bourdain was incredible at that. I mean, he was a liberal guy, and he went to places and really got to know people and had empathy and understood them. Go, okay, I don't agree, but I know, I hear you. I'm listening to you. I think the national media has lost that capacity to see people in an empathetic way. And I'll include myself in there. I'll include myself.
I think that's probably true. What do you think about the turnout yesterday? Or
big.
Actually, over the last month, turnout including absentee and early voting and so on.
Let's see, 62% in West Virginia. And there was tremendous enthusiasm for this election. There was a lot of early voting, obviously, for a variety of reasons, including the pandemic. And also, if you looked at those rallies by Trump in the last 2 weeks, which were pretty incredible, there was an election day turnout. The Trump enthusiasm generated a lot of election day turnout. What about you?
I haven't looked too deeply into this, but my cursory look at absentee voting, certainly in West Virginia and elsewhere, is that it tended to favor Democrats. But you're absolutely right. The Trump was able to turn out his supporters on Election Day. That Election Day vote is what made the difference. Is why we're now biting our nails, waiting to see who's gonna win this. I didn't think we would have a landslide for Biden, although I thought it was possible. Clearly, it's not a landslide. Now we're just counting. We're literally counting individual electoral votes. The two states that do it by congressional district, was it Maine and Nebraska, I think. It could end up being the one congressional district in Nebraska and their one electoral vote that could make a difference the way things are going these days.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. We're still waiting. Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada.
Pennsylvania's going to be the big one.
Pennsylvania, and it's going to be a couple days for Pennsylvania. So it's the sun came up.
Was there anything? I listened to your coverage, so I guess I know the answer. Was there anything that surprised you statewide yesterday?
Yes, the amount of pickup in the House for the Republicans.
Okay.
That was, I mean, the House, Republicans had the advantage in the House 58, 40, and 1 independent. Is that right? 58, 40, and 1, or 58, 41, and 1. 58, 41, and 1 was what it was in the House. And now the Republicans picked up, what is it? I got to check. Jeff Jenkins reported that. Was it 7?
Picked up 7, I believe.
Oh, no, in the House, it picked up like 17.
17? Okay.
Wait a minute. Let me get this in front of me. It was 58. Yeah, they now have a supermajority. They now have more than 70 members. So they had 58, and they went to over 70 in the House of Delegates. I'm going to grab this real quick, see if I can find it.
My notes here to double check. But I know they put, and honestly, my eyes weren't even on the House. I didn't know what was going to happen there, but I didn't think we'd see any major changes there. But clearly we did.
Oh yeah, that was huge. Why can't I find that? Oh wait, no.
I'm doing the same thing, Hoppy. I'm skimming all these notes here real quick, looking for these numbers, and I can't quite find what I'm looking for, and I think what you're looking for.
Well, I'm going to have it here in a second. Okay, going into election night, the House's 100 members included 58 Republicans, 41 Democrats, and 1 independent. Unofficial results, election night, show a new margin in the House of 76 Republicans and 24 Democrats.
Jeez.
That's a pickup of 18.
Yeah,
So that is, because I talked to Republicans about the House races. They thought, okay, they think they'll pick up 6. They probably picked up 18 in the House of Delegates. I mean, that is now a supermajority. Now you're down to 20 in the House. You're down to 24 Democrats.
Here in the Northern Panhandle in Ohio County, as it has been for quite some time and expected to be as long as they run. Erica Storch and Sean Fluharty, Democrat Republican split. They're always, they tend to hold that seat for a while. Marshall County, though, where Joe Canestraro chose to run for county prosecutor, Lisa Zukoff, the incumbent, was the Democrat, the top vote getter. But Charlie Nelson, the Republican, wins over Christian Turek down there, so it becomes a split. Marshall County had 2 Democrats. Now they only have a split delegation for the next session. So, it's an example of what's happened. I guess I hadn't even thought about the House, and that's why I guess I didn't say it was a surprise to me, because I really didn't even have my eyes on the House.
I understand. Well, look at downstate from you. Look at Harrison County. Harrison County was not that long ago a Democratic stronghold. The House Minority Leader, Tim Miley, a Democrat from Harrison County, Miley decided not to run again. In Harrison County, 4 to be elected, all 4 are Republicans. If I'll have to get my research team, which is me, working on this to see when was the last time that there were 4 Republican House of Delegates members from Harrison County. More importantly, and I do have this data in front of me, if I can find it, let me tell you this. Well, I can't find that either. But the last time there were 70-plus Republicans in the House of Delegates was in the 1920s.
Wow.
I don't mean to. Now you're going to the Wheeling Suspension Bridge after the show, aren't you? And just like do a head dive off of that thing.
It's for me. It's somewhat depressing. But again, I need to look at it as an opportunity. Sometimes it's like the alcoholic. You got to hit bottom, right? So maybe we've hit the bottom and can begin to find our way out of it. There again, setting aside the House, which, as I said, I didn't have my eyes set on it, so it couldn't surprise me because I wasn't looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
No individual race surprised me, but collectively they all surprised me.
I understand.
There's very little that I saw. Let's just talk about the Board of Public Works, for example. Everything that happened, I could easily see happening. I just didn't expect it all to happen. I thought Purdue probably would win. I thought that Tennant and Warner would be a closer race. I thought Bob Beach would actually. I thought Bob Beach had a good chance of winning Ag Commissioner. Not that big a deal for a lot of folks, but I think Bob Beach is a likable guy and worked pretty hard at it. But Again, Kent Leonard just won that one as well. But no individual race stunned me or surprised me, because everything that did happen I thought could happen, but I didn't expect it all to happen. So.
Yeah. Well, it all did happen.
It did indeed. I know you were talking to Governor Justice, because did I hear him say last night, and I'm not making fun of him, I'm really not, and I said earlier this morning, by the way, one thing I do believe about Jim Justice, even though I disagree with a lot of the things he does, when he says he's got goodness in his heart for the state, I truly believe that. I really do believe that. But did I hear him say he thought that God put him on earth to be governor of West Virginia?
He did. He did.
Okay.
Yeah, God's plan. I'll just let that hang. You know.
I got you. I heard that last night on.
Well, Riley Moore said the same thing. Riley Moore said, first of all, it's thank God. I mean, whatever. I mean, religious people who are deeply religious certainly believe that there is, there is guidance.
I know.
There's guidance for them. I mean, you're deeply religious. I'm sure you believe there's guidance. I pray for guidance and listen for the answers.
Yeah, I'm not sure all my prayers were answered last night.
You just got to listen harder, Howard. I'm sure that you got to listen. You got to listen, Howard.
Anyways, I know you've got Governor Justice on, because I heard you talk about that. What else is coming up today?
Senator Capito is going to be on. We're going to try to get Mac Warner on this turnout. House Speaker Roger Hanshaw. He has more cats to herd. That's one way to look at it. In the House. State Republican Party Chair Melody Potter. She said she was on cloud nine last night. And then I'll give you some of my analysis, too. I'm going to try. Also, I want to try to get a Bill Ehlenfeld on, somebody like that, and say, okay, what do you do here? How do you regroup if you're a Democrat? So, working on that.
Looking forward to it.
All right,
Howard,
thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Statewide Talk Line comes up today at 10. I'll have my ears tuned. I'll still be drying my tears, but my ears will be tuned.
We appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you for your coverage last night.
All right, and thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Okay, pal.
My good friend Hoppy Kercheval with us here this morning on Statewide, on the Watchdog Morning Show. Statewide Talk Line comes up at 10. Before that, the Watchdogs will be in here, and they'll have a chance to offer their assessment of all of these things coming up at 9 o'clock. But right now, why don't we check some headlines and some sports for you, and a few little other odds and ends. I want to get some COVID information in here just because I want to stay on top of that, even though election is the big deal of the day. We'll do some COVID stuff when we come back as well. Watchdog Morning Show. It is a Wednesday, post-election edition. I'm so happy.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time.
I'm going to do a COVID update when we come back, Biff. Yeah, that's fine. And also have another status report ready, too.
Hi, Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineers Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
Hello, I'm Wheeling Fire Chief Larry Helms. As our city and region get back to business, it's extremely important to continue the following specific health guidelines to stop the spread of COVID-19. This virus is highly contagious and is more deadly than the flu. Please wear a mask or face covering in public, wash your hands more often, socially distance yourself as much as possible, and by following these guidelines, it potentially could save your life.
You can now watch the Legislative Watchdogs every Wednesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. on Facebook Live. Talk radio taken to the next level. Only on the Watchdog. Give us a call and tell us what you're thinking. Locally, 304-214-1600. Out of the area, toll free, 866-514-1600 or 304-232-TALK.
Watch out! He could climb on his soapbox at any time. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
COVID-19 update.
Continuing coverage of the year America shut down continues on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Big story, of course, today is the post-election conversation and coverage, but I do want to take a minute or two to talk about COVID because it ain't going away. It's going up still. So let me run some new numbers down for you. Marshall County Health Department yesterday reported seven new positive COVID-19 cases, bringing Marshall County to a total of 431 confirmed cases, 48 probable cases, 158 are at home isolation, 6 are hospitalized, 5 deaths associated with COVID in Marshall County, 310 have been released from isolation. Marshall County, and I appreciate this, gives us a little basic background about the people that are testing positive, and I'd like to share it with you because it reminds us that it really cuts across all spectrums. Of the 7 people yesterday, we had a female in her 20s, a female in her 40s, a male in his 60s, a female in her 60s, a male in his 60s, a male in his 90s, and then a male in his 20s. So male and female, everything from 20s up to and through the 90s. 60-year-olds, 90-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 20-year-olds, all being diagnosed positive with COVID in Marshall County. So Marshall County, of course, is now added some additional testing throughout the week this week. So you'll have a chance to get more testing done. If you have not been tested, you probably want to think about doing that. I know I've been debating whether I should or not. I know I'm talking to Howard Gamble earlier this week. You notice, Biffy, how quickly he responded when I said, well, should I get tested? Yes. It was a quick yes he gave me.
It was a fast response.
It was of course, he also said he knew someone who worked there that wouldn't mind sticking their Q-tip up my nose, i.e. my son.
I wonder who that could be.
I don't think he wants to inflict pain. Anyway, 7 new cases in Marshall County yesterday. Ohio County is now approaching 700 cases total. Wouldn't be surprised if we don't hit 700 today. As of yesterday, the Wheeling, Ohio County Health Department added 17 new positive cases of COVID-19. That brings the total case count in Ohio County to 693, 9 deaths in Ohio County. Ohio County is running some additional testing sites this week as well. 3 testing COVID clinics, 1 at the Valley Grove Volunteer Fire Department, 1 at the West Liberty Fire Department, and 1 at the fire station on Wheeling Island. I think they're all 11 to 4 throughout the rest of this week. These clinics are free. With or without symptoms, you can go and be tested. No insurance needed. You just drive up, fill out some quick forms, basic identifying information. That's all. Bring your driver's license, photo ID, or some kind of proof of address. There's no residency restrictions. The ones I'm talking about here, Ohio County. Marshall County has numerous ones themselves coming up this week. You don't have to be Marshall County to go to Marshall County or Ohio County to go Ohio County. It's all across the board. So additional testing is one way to get a better feel for what's happening. The Episcopal churches in West Virginia are going to be closed anytime a county is in the red advisory. The bishop of the Episcopal Diocese in West Virginia says they are using, this is interesting, they're using the Harvard Global Health Initiative map. Okay, not the State Department of Education map, but or even the DHHR map, but the actual Harvard Global Health Initiative map. If you're red in that Harvard Global Initiative map and you're an Episcopal, your church will be closed for church services. And here in the Ohio Valley, under the now I think what are we, Biffy, on the Department of Education map? Ohio County is the yellow?
Yeah, the education one, they're yellow. And as of yesterday, Election Day, on the DHHR map, Ohio County was gold.
Okay. And Marshall County is gold, I think, too, right?
No. Marshall County, as of yesterday, on the DHHR map, they are orange.
Okay. All right. Well, if you look at the Global Health Initiative map, Ohio, Marshall, Brooke, Wetzel, Tyler counties are all red. And again, among other things, this points out how disparate these three different maps are. The original Harvard Global Health Initiative map compared to the DHHR map, compared to the Department of Education map, they're all different. But for the Episcopal churches say they're using, and they're smart people for this, they're using the Global Health Initiative because that's actually really based on the most logical and reasonable metrics. They're not trying to, Harvard's not trying to manipulate things so we can have football or we can have school or whatever. They're trying to actually give us factual information. So anyways, the Episcopal churches in West Virginia will no longer have services if the county is red on the global map, and again in the Ohio Valley, Ohio, Marshall, Brooke, Wetzel, and Tyler counties all red on that map. So I just thought I would pass that along. And in Ohio, Buckeye Local announced yesterday they are suspending athletics, and Buckeye Local has moved to remote learning as well. The Buckeye Local superintendent says it's not due to the number of positive cases, but rather due to the number of individuals who have to quarantine for 14 days because of possible exposure. So I just want to bring it to speed on COVID. No matter who wins the election, Trump or Biden, no matter what happens in our legislature and so on, COVID is still with us. And we're going to be talking about that. You know, we keep talking about trying to find a vaccine or a cure for COVID. MIT has come up with a way to identify whether or not you have COVID, and it's not sticking a Q-tip up your nose. Apparently, they've got new technology that will be able to diagnose whether you're COVID-free or you have COVID from a cough. From a cough. The technology, they say, can spot differences in the sound of the cough. They're going to make the tool available on devices like smartphones. So can you picture all of us coughing into our smartphone? Get the phone out. Oh, God, I've got COVID. I don't know. They're working on it. That's all I can tell you. Cutting edge stuff, I guess, is happening there. New study shows that almost 1 out of every 5 COVID-19 patients show only gastrointestinal symptoms. We tend to think of a fever, shortness of breath, but apparently gastrointestinal symptoms are a big sign as well. Loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain. Apparently, it's a fairly big indicator of possible COVID. So nearly 20% of COVID patients show not fever, not breathing issues, but actually gastrointestinal symptoms. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well. It's 8 before the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Coming up at 10, statewide talk line. Hoppy will have the governor on, Shelley Moore Capito on, a number of different people to talk about the election results from yesterday. The Watchdogs are in at 9 o'clock here in just a handful of minutes, and I'm sure they'll have their own, not sure, I know they'll have their own analysis of how things went yesterday. I'm going to be curious to see what Rocky and Brent and the boys think. How depressed is Fuzz? Biffy, is he up there? How depressed is Fuzz this morning?
He doesn't look too bad this morning. I've seen him already, so he's in the lobby right now, ready to go, and he looks pretty good, I think.
Okay, all right. So we've got the Watchdogs at 9. Hoppy is coming in at 10. That'll all be election coverage. Then after the 12 o'clock news from WTRF TV, it is the Mayor's Show. Mayor Elliott, I wonder if he's back. He probably is back. Mayor Elliott was gone last week. Gone out and got hitched.
Yes, he did.
Got hitched. Went to one of my absolute favorite places in the entire world, Sedona. They got married out in the Sedona, Arizona area. I love Sedona. Oh, God, I just love that place. The Red Rock out there. There's a peaceful quietness out there that I have never felt anywhere else. So they had their honeymoon out there. I believe the mayor is back today. Anyways, Vice Mayor Chad Thalman could be in with them as well. I'm not sure what they'll be doing today, but the mayor's show is in at noon. Then we have the girls at 1 o'clock. The ladies, jeez, I can't call them girls. I can't call them girls. The ladies are Sonia and Olivia are in at 1 o'clock. And then this afternoon, it's Paul Harris, I believe. Paul Harris doing the afternoon drive for us this afternoon. So we'll see what he has to say. My strong guess is that Paul will have a lot of election conversation to get into as well. So Paul Harris coming up today on the afternoon drive. At 6 o'clock, of course, is Tony Caridi and Statewide Sportsline. And tonight, being a Wednesday, Biffy, it's High School Sportsline, right?
Yes, it is, from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock.
All right, so check all of that out. That's what we have offering for you today, coming up here on the Watchdog. And then this weekend, do we have a football schedule yet, Biffy?
Yeah, we do. We've got 2 games scheduled. One I know for sure that's going to happen. That is on AM 1370 and 97.7 FM. That is Shadyside at Newark Catholic.
Ah, okay.
That game is scheduled for 7 o'clock, and I can tell you this because the OHSAA sent out the rebracketing for the state semifinals because this is the regional finals. So the winner of Shadyside and Newark Catholic will meet the winner of Warren JFK and Lucas in the semi.
Where is Lucas? Where is Lucas?
I don't know.
Okay.
But that's who the Shadyside Newark Catholic.
If I count on you for those are the kind of questions I expect you to go, boom, I can tell you right now. You got this stuff in your head usually.
And not Lucas. Someone will text us where Lucas is. But Shadyside Newark Catholic winner will get the winner again of Warren JFK and Lucas. That will be next week in the state semifinals. And
right.
we have scheduled Wheeling Central at Petersburg. That is a 7 o'clock game also on Friday on AM 1600 and 98.1 FM. And again, Ohio County on the DHHR map is gold. We're heading in the right direction. We want to keep going down. And so that game can take place on Friday. And then
keeping an eye on that one because again, if we were to turn red, which I don't think now doesn't look like that's going to happen, but we could not play if we turned red, right?
Right, and we don't want that. Central fans do not want that. We need to play that game against Petersburg, and we need to win that game so we can get in the playoffs and everybody will be happy. And then on Saturday, we have 2 college games. West Virginia at Texas scheduled for noon, which means that, again, this Saturday we will not have the Harris Law Saturday Sports Huddle because West Virginia coverage starts at 8:30. And then Saturday night at 7:30 on AM 1370 and 97.7 FM, Rutgers will be taking on Ohio State. And again, kickoff scheduled for 7:30, and by 8 o'clock that game should be over. So there you go.
You're not expecting a major contest there, is that what you're telling me?
As our good friend Georgie K once said, hide the women and children for Rutgers and Ohio State, okay?
All right. So that's what we have offering for you today, and then looking ahead into the weekend. I don't have anything scheduled yet for tomorrow because I'm kind of playing things by ear to see what's going to happen with the presidential thing. I'm positive we won't have an electoral winner by tomorrow, but maybe we'll have a better handle on that. So we'll probably continue to talk about that tomorrow.
And that is that's still 238 for Biden and 213 for Trump. It has not changed since we've been on this morning.
Yeah, and the counting will continue again. But I just think Pennsylvania is going to be the key here, and that's not going to be in for a couple of days. So we're going to have to just sort of live with indecision for a while until we see what happens there. But we'll talk about it tomorrow in more detail, and of course, continue staying with us all day long. ABC, top of the hour, every hour, all the latest info on the presidential count. And then we'll talk about some more of that tomorrow, and I'll have some other guests come. I think maybe Mark Curtis, talked to Mark last night. Maybe he'll come on, and Tom Sussman coming on to analyze more of the statewide races. And Tom, I don't know if he likes to be identified as a Democrat, but Tom worked for Governor Bob Wise and his administration, and Tom may have some thoughts on what's the future of the Democratic Party in West Virginia, so I'll see if Tom can join us tomorrow, too. But for now, my friends, the watchdogs are standing in the hallway, barking loudly. They've got their own opinions they want to offer, and so they shall. I shall say sayonara, see ya, bye-bye, farewell. Good Lord willing, creeks don't rise, bat phone doesn't ring, I don't get impeached, I don't retire. I don't eat another 4 ho-hos and 4 Hostess cupcakes and go into diabetic shock. And most importantly, if Teddy says it's okay to go back tomorrow, the granddad, I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, and then go around to the big gig. Are you back with me, Biff?
I'll join you for a Thursday.
We'll keep on doing it till we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Indeed.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
I'm Emmanuel.
The polling was...
Okay, well, that's enough to make me cry, so let's stop talking about that. All right, Biff, thanks for your help as always, and I'll be down there in a little bit. And we'll just wait and see what happens next. And it's going to be, I just don't know what to do for tomorrow because everything is so up in the air, but I'll figure something out. I'll tell you. We'll do that tomorrow. All right. I'll see you in a little bit. Thanks for your help as always. Good job. Appreciate it. All right. Bye.
Going to the U.S. Supreme Court, we want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list. Okay?
The president has no power to stop legitimately cast votes from being counted, and there have been no signs of any foul play.
ABC's Mary Bruce in the House. ABC News projecting that Democrats will retain